Now it's time for our Siena Flashback segment of the show. And each week we look back on a moment in Siena College basketball history, anywhere from maybe in the 80s back to the 50s, who knows when. And this week we turn back the dial to February of 1953. The place is the Washington Avenue Armory, and 5,000 screaming fans for the matchup between two longtime rivals, Niagara and Siena. In this ball game, turned out to be one of the most exciting games and one of the most memorable games of Siena College history. A Niagara win. I don't do too many Siena losses in the flashback segment, but this one deserves it. It was a Niagara 88-81 win in count them, six overtimes. These double overtime games today don't even come close to matching maybe the excitement or the exhaustion of a game like this. Now, to recap some of his memories from the game, I talked to Siena College Athletic Director Bill Kirsch. Now, Bill used to be a player on the team back in the early 50s. He went on to become the coach of the team from the early 70s on through Siena's transition into Division I play, and as I said, is currently the athletic director of the school. So if you ever have to think of one person to associate with Siena College basketball, Bill Kirsch is obviously that person. Now here's what Mr. Kirsch's memory of this six overtime game against Niagara. For the longest time, it was the longest game in college history. A six overtime game against Niagara at the Washington Avenue Armory. What are your memories from that game? And there must be a lot of memories from this one.
Tired. Yeah, I think most of the players who played most of the game, there was only one gentleman who played the whole game, that was Erias. And I forget, it was like something like 99 minutes. I don't know how many minutes it was to play the game, but the next year they gave him a uniform with those numbers on it. But no, it was a very exciting game. I was very fortunate. I was able to tie up the ball game on 4 different occasions to put it into each successive overtime.
Now, there was a story that was going around about a Niagara player trying to get off the court to go to the bathroom, and unable to do so. The referee ruled at the Armory that said that he had to get the referee's permission to get off. Am I right about this?
Well, the problem with the Armory was that the lavatories and the team dressing rooms were downstairs. So it was like about a 5-minute run down and a 5-minute run back. And I don't think the referees were involved in it at all. The story came from the Niagara camp, actually, that in fact, the young gentleman did have to relieve himself, and it was done during a timeout in the huddle because of the time to go down and back, he would not have been back at the start of the next overtime.
Did you know at the time that this was going to be a game of as great a moment as it turned out to be? I mean, did you know as you were involved in it that it was becoming that kind of game?
It seemed to evolve into a very exciting ball game. It was late in the season, and it was very warm in the Armory, which was a rare occasion for the Armory, and it took its toll on a lot of players. And I know Larry, yes, yeah, Larry, though, how could you forget? Larry Costello was my opposing guard in that game, and after it was all over with, I think our congratulatory remarks were more or less, thank God it is over with, because unfortunately we did happen to lose the game, but I think most of the players were just relieved that it finally came to an end.
That was Siena College Athletic Director Bill Kirsch. Maybe one of the most memorable games in Siena history. 88-81 loss to Niagara. It took 6 overtimes to complete at the Washington Avenue Armory. A couple other notes on that ball game. As you mentioned, Larry Costello, who went on to NBA fame, scored 21 points to lead Niagara in that ball game. Bill Kirsch, as you mentioned, added 18 points to lead Siena. The regulation in this game ended at 54. We had 61 all at the end of the first overtime, 63 apiece at the end of the second overtime. Then it was 70 apiece, and then 72 apiece at the end of the fourth overtime. And at that point, as much as the players were tired, so was the scoreboard. The scoreboard broke down at the end of the fourth overtime. So the players, with people calling times out from the bench to let them know how much time was left in the game, went on 2 more overtimes, with the 5th one tied at 76 before Niagara ended up winning 88-81. In the reference that Bill Kirsch made, 2 of the players, Costello and Erias there, each played over 90 minutes in this game because it goes, 40 and 6 overtimes at 30 apiece. That doesn't make any sense. It's only 70 minutes. So he's saying 90. It's actually 6. They played over 60 minutes apiece, and the next year they both came out with uniform numbers with 60 whatever number of minutes they played in the game. It's, 90 minutes, I don't know, 60 minutes in the game. Again, an exciting ball game in an 88-81 loss, but 6 overtimes, which until the late 70s, early 80s was the longest game in college basketball history.